All right, everyone. By my time, it is 7:05, and we will get right into the conversation right about now. Good evening, good evening. A very beautiful evening from the city of Abuja, and I don't know where you're joining me from, but if you're here, let me know in the comment section, please. Say your name and tell me where you are joining from. While I wait for you to come in, I will just go ahead and up my slides. So tonight is going to be a quick one. We will have a quick conversation straight to the point. We'll take off from where we stopped yesterday. So let me see. Okay, so in a short while, few seconds, my slide will be coming up. We were discussing yesterday what you are doing and why it no longer works for your teenager. Okay, so I'm gonna put down the sound now. Yep, welcome again. So we ran through all of this yesterday. Why the things that we do in 2026 as parents no longer seem to be delivering the usual results that we anticipate to get. So we went through the first session, why parenting feels harder than ever, and the fact that it's not necessarily your fault. So all of that. And in the second session from what we did yesterday, we saw how that we looked at the five actors that every teenager requires. In case you missed yesterday's session, you might want to check back in the WhatsApp group from where you are joining, and you will find a link to catch a replay. We moved on from here, and the last thing we did yesterday was session three, where we looked at why parents can't be everything to their teenager, why you alone cannot be everything that your teenager needs in this season of their life. So we stopped at session four. Actually, we did not even start session four. So here we are today. We are going to be discussing misbehavior as data, not defiance. That's session four. We'll have about three more sessions to go. Today's theme is how to read your teenager correctly and what to do when you have read that. Good evening, Mrs. Felicia. Thank you for dropping a comment. I love to see comments from all those who are here. So if you're here, let me know. Thank you for joining me, and we will get into the conversation right now. So the slide you're looking at says that misbehavior is data, not defiance. One of the biggest breakthroughs for parents happens when we change how we interpret behavior, the behavior of young people. The moment you understand how to correctly interpret the behavior, you have hit a breakthrough that many parents do not get to. Most behavior for teenagers is not really rebellion. I've read a number of documents around the subject of rebellion and teenagers, and my understanding is that a lot of behaviors interpreted as defiance, interpreted as rebellion amongst teenager is not necessarily rebellion. I'm going to show you what I mean by misbehavior is data and how you can read that data and interpret it for yourself. Yesterday I said that today's goal was to make you a data scientist in teen behavior, all right, figuratively speaking. But let's get into the rest of it for today. So I want to reframe behavior from misbehavior, that is, from being rebellion into communication. So you see that your teenager is communicating something. Teens communicate through their behaviors many times because they lack the language, sometimes because they lack the safety and the skills to express what is happening internally. And so, have you ever been in a place where you're feeling something and you don't know exactly how to put to words what it is you're feeling? And so, what you find is people have mood swings, people lash out, or some who don't lash out internalize the struggle and they implode. So they retreat, they withdraw from social activities. They don't want to talk to anybody. Okay. All of that is signal, all right? Is signal to the other party. And so this is happening, especially for teenagers. It's a lack of language, it's a lack of the vocabulary. One of the things we teach young people in emotions management is the ability to rightly interpret, to give word to emotions. And I see this even with untrained adults. So you're feeling something, and instead of rightly communicating what you're feeling to every other person in the room, you expect that people can read your mind and see what you are feeling. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that. So if we as parents misread that communication as defiance, you will begin to respond with punishment instead of understanding the child, and you will miss the message. If you miss that message, more often than not, you will also miss the relationship with that young person. So, key to tonight's conversation is that behavior is data. Behavior or misbehavior, either way, is data. It is communication, and you want to understand the language of that communication, what it is saying, and how you can rightly, correctly read the conversation. So let's move forward. Team, can you? Okay, yeah. So behavior as feedback. There are three things you want to understand in the communication that is coming to you in the form of your child's behavior. Number one is the need. Every every behavior or misbehavior is communicating or revealing a need that is not being met. Every behavior gives feedback in these three areas. Number one is the need. It's telling you that there is a need that is not being met. Every misbehavior exposes a skill or a set of skills that have not been developed in the child. So, like I said, those who throw anger tantrums, the skill deficit there is that they lack the ability to express emotions, emotions management, emotions regulation is one of the things that you see there. When a young person lacks the skill of emotional regulation, they're going to use their emotions, they're going to throw tantrums, they get angry. Even managing the emotion of love and excitement, happiness, and all of that. Okay. The lack of skill in managing that emotion is going to show up in so many different ways, aka misbehavior. So take love, for instance, romantic love. So I have a crush on this girl in my class. If your teenager has not been taught how to manage that emotion, it is going to lead them into trouble sooner or later. And then finally, every misbehavior signals a transition in emotions, transition in their cognitive maturity, s- transitions in their development. So every behavior tells you something about what stage of development that your teenager is currently experiencing. So you find teenagers in a particular age bracket or a particular developmental stage experimenting with lying, experimenting with masturbation, experimenting with, you can list as many vices as you can. And I can tell you exactly what is going on in the life of that child at that point. And so it reveals the need that is not been met. It reveals the skill that has not been built. It tells you also what stage of development that young person is. So behavior is not random. That's what I'm trying to get you to see tonight. That your child's behavior is not random. It's not a roll in the dice. It is information coded in character, coded in actions or inaction. The question is not how do I stop my child from doing this thing, which is one of the questions I hear a lot from parents. How do I stop? How do I stop? Including last night after the session we had. How do I stop this? The question is not how you stop the behavior. The question is, what am I hearing? What is this behavior telling me? That is the real question to ask. What is this behavior telling me? So behavior is feedback. Well, let's move forward. Expressions versus rebellion. So let's differentiate when um, it is rebellion and when it is expression. So expression is simply an unmet capacity, whereas rebellion is rejected authority. That distinction matters very much. Expression comes from unmet capacity. A teenager wants to do better, but they don't know how. A teenager wants to do better, but they have not developed the capacity to support their aspiration. I said yesterday, no matter how you wish to be a medical doctor, if you do not subject yourself to the training of medical doctors, you can wish all you like. You can even pray and fast all you like. It will not happen. And so expression comes from unmet capacity, whereas rebellion, on the other hand, is a conscious rejection of authority. And yes, this might be the case. I'm just saying that you want to read the room enough to understand that not all misbehavior is rebellion. Because when you treat expression like rebellion, you crush growth, you crush the development of the individual. And when you misread rebellion as expression, which is something else I see uh, some parents do, is this child is acting in outright rebellion, but he's just a child, he's just growing up. No, he's not just a child. That is rebellion. If you misread it as just expression or just a phase, that's the phrase that I hear quite often. It's just a phase. It's not a phase. They're not going to overgrow it. You will confuse boundaries around that teenager if you misread rebellion as expression. You're going to confuse the boundaries. You're going to fail to reinforce the boundaries that is supposed to support or kill that rebellion and support the healthy development of the child. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Wisdom is knowing the difference between expression and rebellion. So let's move on to the next slide, please. So every behavior is a curriculum. Every behavior of your teenager is a curriculum that you should study. And the question here is, what lesson am I missing? So the behavior, once, especially when it is recurring, it points to a missing lesson. Let me give you a few instances. Poor time management is a will point you to the lesson or the need for training in structure. So when a young person has the inability to manage their time properly. The lesson missing there is a lesson on structure. You can attack that behavior all you like. If you do not provide a training on structure, it will not go. Another example, I give an example of emotional outbursts. Outbursts or retreat. Those are two ways that teenagers use emotions. They either lash out or they withdraw and give you silent treatment. You can say whatever you want to say. When you see that, there is a need for regulation skills. There's a need for emotional regulation skills. Most of the time, when they choose to withdraw, you probably are looking at a young person who has a need for safe connections. They have a need for safe connections. They have a need for emotional security. So, again, my point is the behavior is not the enemy. The behavior is a curriculum on its own. It's an entire syllabus that you should go and study. The question, what lesson, what lesson am I missing? What lesson have I not taught? Excuse me. What lesson have I not taught? That's the question. So let's move. Let's move. Let's move. So I want you to put this in the comment section. I see quite a number of persons here, but let's engage for a minute. Put this in the comment section. My teen is not attacking. He or she is communicating. You can write it the way it is on the screen. My teen is communicating, not attacking. My teen is communicating, not attacking. I'll give you a moment to put that in the comment section. If I see some of us putting it in the comment, then we will proceed to the next session of our conversation. I told you tonight is going to be short and straight to the point so that I can let you go as quickly as we did last night. My teen is communicating, not attacking. I want to be sure that we are still together. I want to be sure that we are still together. My teen is communicating, not attacking. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you. My teen is communicating, not attacking. All right. Someone just sent me a message, and I think you are from the WhatsApp group, so I will respond to your message um, after this call. I will respond to your message. I hear your question, but we're not going to answer it on this call. I respond to you. So let's just move forward. My team is communicating, not attacking. We will, in the next session, look at the parenting mirror. The parenting mirror. The parenting mirror. So when you realize that your teenager's behavior is communication, not an attack, that realization changes everything. You stop to fight the child, you begin to decode the child. And decoding is what produces better outcomes, better than control. Decoding produces better outcome. So let's look at the parenting mirror. Quite a number of okay, we'll just see misbehavior and what that mirror is, what it is exposing. So misbehavior does not reveal it doesn't just reveal something about your teenager, it reveals something about the systems around them. The systems around them. A mirror does not judge, it just reflects. That's what I'm saying. A mirror does not judge, it just reflects. If you stand before a mirror is not going to tell you you're ugly, you're beautiful, or you have a scar or not. It just shows you what you put in front of it. So misbehavior is is your parenting mirror. For some persons, what you are seeing in the mirror is a living, walking testimony of skills and support. For some persons, what you're seeing is a living, walking testimony of dysfunction. Either way, it's just a mirror. But reflection gives you the opportunity to adjust the design, not to assign blame. So you can look yourself in the mirror and focus on all the things that are not right in the image. However, the image is just a revelation of things that you can do better if need be. So you can adjust the design. You can, set your collar properly, or you can adjust the blouse. You can zip properly, button up whatever is missing. The reflection gives you the opportunity to make adjustments to your design, not to play blame. Oh, this, that should have happened and did not happen. No, you have the opportunity to adjust your design. And I hope that this session tonight and yesterday will help you to see what parts of your design, your parenting design, needs adjustment. I hope that this session tonight and last night would help you to see that. So let's look at some gaps. Let's look at some gaps um, in behavior. Let's map it out quickly. When I gave a few examples previously, when your teenager begins to tell lies, which I think a lot of them do, okay, all right, it often points to a lack of emotional safety. And if your child cannot open up to you honestly, cannot tell you what is going on in their life, and they need to cover up for it, as as unpleasant as that behavior is, as unpleasant as that attitude is, it's a reflection of something else. Is I don't feel safe enough because that person who is lying to A is telling some B somewhere the truth of the matter. And where they tell the truth is where they feel safe enough to tell the truth, whether that place is indeed safe or not. So what that tells you is to create a safe environment where no matter the flaw, no matter the sin, no matter the contradictions, no matter the error, no matter the failure, that child can feel safe enough to be open and vulnerable to you as their parent. Because you don't want that vulnerability given to some stranger out there who does not have the interest of the child. So it makes it very imperative that you create emotionally safe spaces for your child. Anger reveals, like I said, missing regulation skills. Anger reveals missing regulation skills. If your child chooses to withdraw from you, it tells you that there is a lack of connection. There's a lack of connection. So teenagers often have this thing they say, my parents don't understand me. I think I did a video on that subject some time ago. If you check on our channel, you're going to see it somewhere. I did a video on it. What exactly is going on when your teenager says, my parents don't understand me? Oh, mom, you don't understand. Daddy, you don't understand. Withdrawal usually signals that lack of connection. And there's something to do about it. Then defiance often tells us that there is a lack of clarity in authority communication. I mentioned my book yesterday that talks about why teenagers fail, where I discussed the subject of authority crisis from the perspective of a teenager and trying to explain to the teenager what exactly is going on when they have an authority crisis. So defiance means that authority is not clear or authority is inconsistent. So you're giving mixed signals that there are some things that you say that you don't permit, and sometimes you permit them. There are some things that you so the teenager is confused about where you stand by time. So if yesterday you said um, coffee was by 7 and the teenager A obeys it and teenager B disobeys it or for some reason misses that coffee and comes back at 7:30 and you do not apply the consequences, you can expect for sure that the one who obeyed today will at some point defy. That's what I mean. So you are either not very clear, the authority is not very clear, or the authority has some inconsistencies around it. So these are just a few of them for the purpose of our conversation tonight. When you map behaviors to any of these gaps, again, you can stop asking the question, what is wrong with my child? And all of those things that are here. You can start asking the question, what is missing? Find out the gap, find out what is missing, what is creating the behavior that you are seeing. And when you do that, what you should now do is to create the system, not to shame the individual. Create systems. No blame games, no judgment. This whole conversation was about diagnosing properly. So when a patient comes to the hospital, you don't start blaming the patient. Why are you sick? You start finding out, why are you sick? So same question, two interpretations. You don't start blaming the patient. You don't start judging the patient. You start by diagnosing what the ailment is and begin to create systems for recovery. Now, this process requires a lot of maturity. That's the truth. It requires a lot of maturity. Maturity to not blame, the maturity to not be judgmental, the maturity to just do diagnosis. That's why doctors are trained for their job, right? When you choose to shame the child, you can expect that they will shut down. But when you build systems, you build up the child. When you build systems, you build up the child. So in the academy at Teen Success Academy, we always say that we're not trying to fix your child. We are strengthening or building a structure around them. Because what we see is the symptom or symptoms of lack of structure. And what we do in response to that is to begin to build structures or strengthen structures where they already exist. That's what I mean by creating systems. So our process is not about control. It is about capacity building. It is not about control. It is about capacity building. What capacities are you going to build in your child? If you choose control, you will be managing the behavior. I can guarantee you it is temporary. I can guarantee you it is temporary. Was it in this session yesterday or somewhere else? I was talking about a young person with whom the parents have managed the behavior. They use control, do these laws, rules, and regulations. As fantastic as those things are, but if you're a Christian, you're very familiar with the fact that the laws were never meant to produce any form of righteousness. It will manage the behavior only temporary. After a while, all of the flaws come back to the surface. But if you focus on building capacity for that child, you change the behavior permanently. change the behavior permanently. So your goal as a parent is not compliance; it is competence. I tell parents that it's not enough. I don't take it as a very wonderful testimony that your child is an obedient child. As good as it is, obedience is fantastic. Obedience is fantastic, but you can have an obedient fool. You can have an obedient, incompetent child. You can have a foolish virgin. So virgin is good. Virgin is a wonderful virtue, but the virgin is still foolish. Your goal should be to produce virgin with wisdom. That's competence and character put together in one. But if you focus on just creating compliance, controlling events, and act, no problem. You can stay there and you will be satisfied. You will feel good until the problems reveal themselves again. And by the time they reveal, you are not dealing with an adult. I had a parent reach out to me a few days ago and he's dealing with a 23-year-old, and all of the problems have come back. And she's asking me if we can. I said, no, I deal with teenagers. If you have a 23-year-old, we have a different program and it will cost you a different amount of money. So the conversation is not about control, it's about building capacity for your child. I guess finally, I'm going to talk about the subject of failure and why failure is necessary. Failure is not a referendum on it's not a condemnation. I guess that's how to put it. Failure is a necessity in the growth and development of every child. So let's look at this. Why failure is necessary. My slide should move, please. Okay. Protection versus preparation. A lot of parents protect their children, and rightly so, or wrongly so. But what you should be doing is preparing that child. What you should be doing is preparing that child for their future. My mentor, Coach Wendy Ologe, would say that it is not your job really to protect your child. That's where you because you can't protect the child. Well, at a certain age, yes, it's your responsibility for your infants, for your toddlers, and all of that. But in the context of what we are discussing, you really cannot protect your teenager. Yeah, pray to God, ask God for that. Your job, your assignment is to train up a child in the way he should go so that when he grows old, he will not depart from it. Your job is to prepare your teenager for the real world. You're not going to sit in class with them. You're not going to go to school with them. They go to school on their own, they will return on their own. You're not going to the university with them. So you can see the limits of your protective capacities for those of us that are overprotective parents. Helicopter, you're always there, flying around, monitoring, hovering over the child. There's a limit to what you can do. Your real competence, your real edge, your real winning edge is preparing that child, because as sheep, they will meet wolves outside. Is to prepare that child with the capacities and abilities to deal with the wolves of this world, with the wolves of their school. They're not going to be there when they're having conversation with their peers. You're not going to be there when somebody is telling your 14-year-old daughter that there is a better way to be a girl and to be a woman. You're not going to be there when somebody is telling your 15-year-old boy that they need some other kind of protection. You're not going to be there when they are being enticed with drugs and alcohol and sex and alternative lifestyles. You're not going to be there. So there is a limit to your protective capacity. Your job, your real responsibility is about preparing that child for the future. And those two things are not the same. They are not even near each other at all. Many parents confuse protection with preparation. When you protect your child, what you do is actually you do all that you can. And a lot of parents have capacity to do this thing. What you're doing is you are removing difficulty. You are trying to clear the road for your child. You got them admission. You even hired somebody to write exam for them, special center. Is that what they call it? You hired mercenaries to write exams for them. You even paid you hired extra. You were just removing and clearing the road for them. That's what you have done all these years. Preparation builds ability. Because I experience you do these things in the anticipation that you even own your own life. That is what you're saying. Because what if you die? Or are there not children who don't have parents? So when you follow the path of protection, you want to live the life of the child for them. And that is impossible, man. That is impossible, sir. The path of preparation is the path that builds ability and capacity in your child. Protection creates comfort. I don't want my child to suffer. If you know the things I passed through to come to the level where I am today, I don't want my child to go through the things I went through. You should be teaching your child to know the things you did not know when you were growing up. That's what you should do. Because preparation creates strength. Stop focusing on giving your child the type of life you did not have when you were growing. Focus on teaching them the lessons, the wisdom, the training you did not receive when you were growing up. Nobody said anything about sex education to you when you were a teenager. Nobody taught you about finances. Now you have found your way around your finances. Nobody taught you about peer pressure. Nobody taught you about puberty and sexual maturity. Nobody taught you so many things that you were not taught. Those are the things you should be focusing on teaching your child, not protecting them and helping them write exam, and helping them get admission, and helping them fill their registration. Okay, they have gotten the admission now. You want to follow the child to school to go and fill registration form because they don't have hand and they don't know how to write. Okay, they went to school. You now want to follow them to go and process their accommodation so that you can be sure that where the school will give them to where they are going to sleep, the hostel is going to be comfortable to your taste, and all of those things you want to do. That is not your job. That's not your job. But let us move forward. All right, next slide. Okay. So failure. We're discussing failure, right? Failure is not danger. It's okay to fail. It's all this pushing. You are padding the thing so that they will not say that you are not a good parent. You are padding the thing. It will show up in the future of that child. It will show up. You see, you are building foundation of a house, and there is something wrong in that place and you overlook it. Let us just be building, because our neighbor's house, he's also building. Let them not say we were not making progress. You see your neighbor, you will build. When you finish building and that's how it is. Failure is okay. Failure is feedback. Failure is data. When you see that thing, you should begin to amend it when there is time and provide the training that is necessary. But failure feels dangerous. When it shows up, it feels threatening. But it's not. It's data, it is training. Excuse me. And a teenager who never fails has actually never learned how to recover. Whether it will come or not, you can take it to the bank. They are going to face adversity at some point. And recovery is a skill. Recovery from adversity is a skill. If you don't let them develop that skill when they are young, they will crumble sometime in adult life. You can use yourself to examine this conversation properly. You can use yourself as a case study. Next is the prayer trap. This one, I think I said something about prayer yesterday, and uh, somebody asked me a question. You see, I also said yesterday that I'm a deeply spiritual person. Okay, but I've often told the story. It was a few years ago when a student after one of my sessions said I should please pray for her to get so that she can receive the spirit of reading. And I told her there is no such thing as the spirit of reading. Reading is a discipline that you will sit down and develop. We just finished a course 2 days ago. The course is the Focus Mastery course, where we're teaching teenagers how to stay on one subject, how to stay on one task and sit down on it until you get it done. So I told this young lady, I told her that reading is not a spirit. There's no kind of prayer anybody can pray for you that is going to create in you the spirit of reading. It will not happen. Well, I am happy to inform you that that young lady, after passing through some of our trainings, is on her way. Is on her. I think I don't know what level exactly. Is on her way to become to bagging a first class degree in one of Nigeria's schools. I'm very happy to inform you of that. So prayer without skill is self-deception. That's my point. Prayer without skill is self-deception. We pray for change, but we avoid building the skills that support change. It's New Year, right? And it's the season of prayer and fasting. That's very fantastic. You need that. There is a place for that. There's a place for that. But that is where a lot of sincere people get stuck. Because you can be sincerely ignorant, you can be sincerely unproductive. Building skill is what supports the change that we desire. And prayer without the structure that creates change will create spiritual bondage. You're going to have all the Christianese and spiritual language without practical capacity to show for what it is you are saying. Faith without works is dead. It was never meant to replace wisdom. It was meant to empower it. Prayer is meant to empower wisdom, not to replace it. But let's move forward from this part of the conversation. The costs of overprotecting your child. When your teenager is okay, I noticed that when I was talking about prayer, a few persons logged out of the conversation. That's a very interesting observation. Very, very interesting. But let's continue. Um, Overprotection cost, the cost of overprotection. When your teenagers are overprotected, four things happen. They sacrifice competence because there is not enough practice to build the competence that they require. You have overprotected them out of their ability to be competent. You have overprotected them out of their abilities. You have overprotected them out of their responsibilities. Then you can also overprotect your teenagers out of confidence because now the child can no longer trust themselves in the face of difficulty. They no longer think that I can do it because daddy has always been there, mommy has always been there. The third is you can overprotect your child out of resilience. There is too much comfort that a little discomfort feels unbearable. So you wonder why your 21-year-old boy cannot do anything. Because you have been bailing that guy out so since he was 12. You have defended him in every place where he went to fight. You have come out and tie your wrapper to exchange fight on his behalf. You have gone to school to go and quarrel with his teachers on his behalf. You have protected him out of resilience. And now he's an incompetent young adult. He's an incompetent young adult. Can I add one more? You can overprotect your child out of maturity. Because of that 21-year-old example I just, you can overprotect your child out of maturity. So they are 30 and they are still looking for breakfast in your house. That is a burden no parent should have. They are 30, they're 29, they're 27, they're even 25. But they are immature because responsibility was delayed. You never allowed them have take any responsibility. He's mommy's boy and he's daddy's girl. I will touch again. See, because of those who locked out when I was speaking about, I have nothing against prayer. I pray. But you cannot pray away what you refuse to build. You cannot pray away what you refuse to build. Building takes time. Building takes time. But nothing worth becoming can come instantly. It's not true. Building takes time. But let's conclude this conversation. Short-term fixes will not work. I can, you know, I'm trying to remember whether that was today or I don't know. I don't remember. But I had a conversation with a friend and I said, if you're looking for instant fixes, I don't do that. I don't. In fact, I try as much as possible to run away from fixing what I don't know. I prefer to give you strategies and skills and tools to prevent crisis than to fix a crisis. But let's stay with this conversation because our time is almost up, and this is where we'll finish. Short-term fixes will fail. So I'm going to show you what exactly your teenager needs so that if this conversation is for you, then we can make progress. Your teenager needs structure. Your teenager needs repetition. Your teenagers need accountability. Short-term fixes don't work because they don't provide structure, they don't provide repetition, they don't provide accountability. And so you can talk and talk and talk, it will not stick. Because that's what most parents do. Very few thrive parents invest in building systems. And there are some thrive parents on this call. If they will show themselves, please put in the comment section. I'm a thrive parent. Thrive parents invest in building systems. Talks don't stick because they don't create structure, they don't create repetition, they don't create accountability. Insight, no matter how I talked yesterday about information, right? The abundance of information available to today's teenagers. That information cannot create progress because you need structure, you need accountability to practice. If not, it will fade. I can guarantee you that. It will fade. And in the next slide, I'll tell you why motivation fades. Because emotion without system will expire. What you felt yesterday has expired. Motivation is emotional energy. Is fire. Oxyacetylene flame for my chemistry people. It's red fire. Oh, sorry. That one, what I mentioned will be the blue one. The bushfire is motivation. Can go. But if you build system, then you can build the real fire, the blue flame, the one that actually does the work. You can set bushfire, boo, 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 everywhere go. You are motivated. After you finish motivating, after the reggae, where's the blues? So emotion expires, motivation expires, but systems, when you build systems, you create what can carry motivation forward. Systems of discipline. That's what I'm talking about. Sustainable change requires design, not hype. Sustainable change requires design, not hype. So I teach my teenagers to design their life. We don't set goals, we build systems. 2 days ago, today is Saturday, right? 2 days ago, Wednesday and Thursday, we run the Thrive Mentorship Program for 2026. We did the boarding school track for my teens that are going back to boarding school, and we are equipping them with systems and structures for succeeding at school. Sustainable change requires design, not hype. The other reason is that identity takes time. Identity takes time. Answering the question of who you are takes a while, because that question is a question of formation, not information. We can give you information in a matter of seconds. I've given you information since yesterday and today. I've given you a lot of information. But using that information and building with it is now the part of what I'm talking about is formation. It's going to take time. Because identity is not plug and play. It's not copy and paste. Identity is spiritual. It needs to be formed, and that formation is slowly, repeatedly, and intentionally. Teenagers don't become who they are told to be. They become who they practice to be. You can put that in the comment section. That sounded very good. Can I say it again? Teenagers don't become who they are told to be. They become who they practice to be. So if they are practicing to be rebellious, that's who they will become. If they are practicing truancy, that's who they will become. But if they are practicing excellence on a daily basis, at Teen Success Academy, we give teenagers daily practice activities on a daily basis. Mentorship is not touch and follow. It's not 1 week, once a week, or once a month. It's daily. Building line upon line, precepts upon precepts. That's how we build our Teen Success Academy. And I'm going to invite you to join us. But let's finish our conversation. Identity takes time. Identity takes time. What your teens actually need is skill, character, mentorship, accountability, and safe failure. All of these I have discussed on this call and yesterday's. They don't need more shouting. They don't need more yelling. They don't need more lesson teachers. They don't need more. What do you call all those things that you do? They don't need more. Okay. All right. They need skills. They need character. They need mentorship. They need accountability. They need safe spaces where they can fail safely and recover strongly. And these things are not wished for, they are built. They are built. So it's 8 o'clock. And like I said, I'm going to stop on the hour. My question to you tonight, I still have a few more slides, but we will leave them out and ask you the final question for tonight. Where is your teenager consistently building these things that I talked about? Skill, character, mentorship, accountability, and safe failure. Where is your teenager constantly building these things? Where is your teenager constantly building these things? So, if you want to join us, I'm going to invite you. Let me see. If my team is on the call, I'm going to ask somebody to share details with you. But I'll take a break from this slide so that you can view this fully. I want to invite you to the Thrive Mentorship Program for 2026. We actually closed registrations on the 4th, but because of the programs we had this week, we had we had two programs this week. One of it was the focus mastery, and the other one, I'm not so sure. But we had two programs this week that caused us to reopen registration. Onboarding is ongoing as I'm talking to you right now. But we're having our orientation and opening session on 17th of January. And you can join us at the Thrive Mentorship Program. If you join this call from any of our WhatsApp groups, the details will be on in that group right after this call, or you can ask a question. If you're interested here, you can drop a comment and we will reach out to you, or send us a message. The phone number to WhatsApp chat, please, is 090 I'll take that again, 090 So these are the things we do at the academy: mindset and character building practices, guides, journaling, reflection exercises. I said these things happen on a daily basis. We have accountability and peer support sessions. They get coaching clinics and mentorship workshops every month, like every other week. Then we read books. We have very fantastic books recommended. We watch movies, so we have fun also. We do movie reviews. We do all of these for values and critical thinking skills that we build in our teenagers. And as a parent, you're not left out. We have parent feedback sessions. We have support sessions like this one we are holding now. It's actually supposed to be for our in-house people, but we made it public so that you can be invited. And it's all through the year from January to December, 100% virtual, so that you can join us from any part of the world where you might be watching this video from. All right, so that's about it. And I hope if you're watching this session with your, I want to turn your phone on landscape so that you can see. These are some of the testimonials that we have received. There are so many of them. But okay, there are just a few of them. There's somebody from Canada, there's somebody from Lagos, there's somebody from Imo State, United Kingdom, Abuja, Lagos. Wherever you are, feel free to join us and be a part of the transformation that is going on with a lot of teenagers that we have worked with. We hope to see you in there very, very soon. Like I said, we will start on the our opening session is starting on the 17th. 17th is exactly 1 week from now. We'll have our opening and onboarding session. So send us a message on the number 09048410553, and we will have you onboarded. And I want to give a special offer for those that are on this call. So for those that are not on this call, they will not understand. So I'm going to give you a very special discount. That will be 20% off our annual fee. All right. Send us a message and you'll be onboarded between now and tomorrow. But the offer, hello, before you go, the offer is only available this weekend. By Monday morning, that offer goes off. So if you're signing up, make a commitment tonight, talk to somebody tonight, and we will get you onboarded. The fees go back to normal on Monday morning. Thank you very much for joining me in tonight's session, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. God bless you and have an amazing evening.